Well, hello, my friends. Welcome to me, your host, Christian Watson. My friends, I've been meditating on an issue quite recently, and that is simply the issue of understanding. And the vessel for understanding is words, it's language. And there are so many varieties of this vessel, right? Some languages are very diverse, some are very old and forgotten, some are commonly used. But in almost all cases, they serve one purpose, and that purpose is for people to be able to understand not only each other, but the world in a much better, in any way, shape, or form. Because without words, how in the world do we communicate? Well, you can communicate in other ways, but those other ways also rely on words as well, such as sign language. Sign language, you can communicate with sign language, but you also rely on words for that as well. Because without words, what is sign language signing, per se? So words simply are the foundation for which sign language then translates into non-verbal communication, essentially. But I found that when it comes to politics, words are oftentimes weaponized. And recently, I have seen words being weaponized by many left-wing factions in not only America, but also the West. And of course, there have been conservative pundits which have talked about this issue ad nauseum. But my friends, I'm here to tell you something. Most of them do not consider the foundations of language. See, many people will simply say, well, words are important because we can use them to understand each other, without actually asking the question, how do we know a word's meaning is true, other than the fact that it is commonly agreed upon? Because there have been plenty of things throughout history that have been commonly agreed upon that we now understand were not reflective of what reality was. Plenty of things. And I'm sure I will not exhaust the point because I'm sure many of you astute people, can go ahead and think of a few. Whether it be the nature of of Earth's position in the universe, whether it be how to treat certain illnesses. We used to drill nails into people's heads to get rid of mental illnesses, and we used to exercise people to get rid of schizophrenia. Whether it be, regardless of what it is, whether it be bloodletting to get rid of diseases, our understanding of the world has evolved, and with it, language has evolved. But language is rooted, or should be rooted, in something that is a little bit more deeper than social evolution. Hence lies the problem. When you're in politics, unfortunately, things in politics are more concerned, well, people that use things in politics are more concerned with how a particular idea benefits their temporal political goal, as opposed to how a particular idea corresponds to a universal principle, or how a particular idea reflects or represents a universal principle. Because when you're in politics, the universal does not seem to be as important as the local, at least if you're a political strategist. Now, if you're truly in politics for the right reasons, the universal will be all that matters, and anyone that tries to take you away from the universal will be castigated and tossed aside like the charlatan and the swindler and the rogue that they are. But I digress. I will give you a longer treatise, a longer sermon, so to speak, on the, unfortunately, strategic and competitive nature of politics later. But back to words. I've seen, particularly on the left side of the aisle, several words that are in prominence manipulated and contorted for a clear political purpose. And I'll give you a few. I'll start with the first word, equity. Now, this word is hopping around in many different forms. There's pay equity, which is a concept that is being implemented in corporations. Then there's also other forms of equity, which are being implemented in political policies. There's racial equity. There's gender equity. And all these subcategories reflect the broader word of equity. And what equity means these days is simply the condition or quality of something being fair. And by fair, that means that something being on equal or greater footing. So I'm sure many of you have seen the famous graph that shows the three children standing on a wall, and there is like one kid that can't see above the wall, and then there's like another kid that is actually all the way up on the wall. Equity would say, okay, that kid that cannot see, they need help. Not to be equal per se to that other kid, but to simply have just as much of an advantage, if not even more, than that other kid, on the basis of how excluded they have been from being able to see beyond that wall, to be able to see in the baseball field. But my friends, equity is not simply situating someone in a position that is advantageous to them according to their social context, but rather equity in the 14th century when the word was birthed, if you look at the etymology, simply meant to be fair and in accordance with the principles of natural justice. Equity had no formative social connotation to it until the 1980s, when sociologists hijacked the word and meant equity to be used as a matter of position in society, as opposed to it being used as a matter of reflecting the principles of natural law and natural justice, which are universal, and again pay no heed to your temporal position in society, but rather to how your condition as a human being has been treated by others in society. But once again, when you can neglect the existence of foundational principles, when you can look at the local and not at the universal, by and through the strategic nature of politics, what in the world does natural law even mean? Aren't laws just things that we pass in Congress that are conferred by social legitimacy? Is there really any natural law? These are the kind of thoughts produced by a mind that is cleaved and bound to the local. Diversity. Diversity in the universe has always meant a variety of things fulfilling a bunch of different functions. We see diversity reflected in solar bodies, where the sun and the moon are both solar bodies. They're both of the same genus, we would say, yet they fulfill different functions. The sun emits heat, obviously, and the moon regulates the tides in the earth, things of that sort. This is just a very surface explanation to get to the broader point. But then both of those things are valued because they're so different. The sun is not the same as the moon, and the moon is not the same, not the same as the sun. But diversity in our social context means not simply a variety of different things being represented in a certain area. It means a variety of one thing having increased prominence in social institutions, and that one thing is identity. Whether that identity be you being gay, you being black, you being Asian, particularly if you are underrepresented or you are marginalized, diversity now says that your identity should be represented in more areas in society, because by doing that, we have a more fuller picture of the world. But my friends, when identity becomes the basis for diversity, as opposed to skill or function, true diversity is destroyed. If we simply looked at the sun and the moon in terms of what they looked like as opposed to what they did, then how in the world would we be able to recognize their core functions? We couldn't. We simply couldn't. Now, there will be some who say to me, as one said to me during my speech in Texas recently, well, saying that things are different in nature is not as profound or deep as you think it is, Christian. But I think that the pathway that you embark upon when you say that actually is profound and deep. And we can find that profundity and deepness simply by reflecting on the nature of our condition, that every human being does not have the same fingerprint as another. Every human being has something that they are naturally talented at, or they can become talented at or become good at rather through their natural talent. Every human being is unique. But if we simply understood diversity as something we had no control over, our identity, as opposed to something that we can stoke, our excellence or our pursuit of excellence, our human uniqueness fades away. And that is a kind of self-destruction that has profound implications for everything in society, for civilization, for self-love, for everything in society. So it is quite a profound point, if you ask me. And then inclusion. Now, inclusion, my friends, that again once meant bringing in a variety of different people into a fold. But that difference has been reduced and essentialized these days to identity. And the differences of those variety of people are not recognized as fully as they should be, given the fact that they have taken a backseat to identity. These are all words that meant something quite different under a different context and are now being used to push political goals. Now, people may say to me, Christian, words evolve. They do evolve. But words should not evolve away from their foundations. The evolutions of words should reflect what they truly mean, not what we want them to mean in the temporary moment to further our own political agenda. So, my friends, it is incumbent upon us to see how politics and how the left in particular are manipulating these words. Because once we can do that, we can reclaim not just common meaning, but foundational, denotative meaning, and assert that as the proper way forward, as opposed to buying in to the associated and added context that our politics gives us every day for certain kinds of words. Think on it. My friends, I love you guys so much. If you love me, patreon.com/officialcwatson. You can support me there. PayPal, which is going to be my email, officialcwatson@gmail.com. Or please join my Discord. I love talking to you guys so much. Discord is in the comment section down below. Join my locals, please. My locals, I am trying to build it up. I would love more of you to be down there. christianwatson.locals.com. Please like this video, please subscribe to this channel, and please share this video. It is dynamite, and every share helps our commentary get out to a broader crowd. My friends, love you guys so much, and please stay pensive.